BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a cult classic.
Cult classic, yeah.
Yeah.
The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead, 1981.
Directed by Sam Raimi. The one and
Raimi.
only, who's kind of, garnered himself a name in the horror genre, of course, because, this movie and then a few other movies to boot.
To boot.
And yeah, it's very much I watched it 10 years ago, so this was kind of like a fresh rewatch for me as well. Like I kind of forgot. I mean, not forgot the bulk of it, but like all those little details in between, the main storylines.
Yeah. Turns out I've never watched this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But you thought you did, right?
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Once I saw The Evil Dead Rise, I was like, you know what? I don't think I've seen The Evil Dead
At all.
And then I was like, and once I watched this today, I was like, I've definitely not seen this.
Yeah.
I would remember this.
The whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like rides a fine line of almost being comedic, campy,
yes.
because of how not menacing the Deadites, as they're called.
Deadites?
Deadites, yeah.
Oh.
That's what they're called in
know that was what
the
they were
universe of Evil Dead. But
because they kept calling them Kandarian demons in the movie.
Or
something like that.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
the actual word written down, but I don't remember if it's actually Kandarian.
Oh, something like that.
It's something
I remember
like that. Yeah.
Because it was like a Sumatran or whatever, Sumerian, yeah.
Yeah, ancient Sumerian thing.
Not context. What's the thing? No, maybe I'm thinking.
Conduit.
No, but it was, because it was a conduit. No, like a text. I don't know why I'm trying to put the con in front of it. My bad. I'm just thinking of text, the word text, like just the text of like the actual book.
What's that called? Content of...
Table of contents?
Table of contents. At the beginning of a book.
There you go.
I was just trying to help you out, and then I made it worse.
It's okay. It's all of that wrapped into one thing. But yeah, it's...
Could you imagine if the... what's it called? Necronomicon?
The Necronomicon. Just
had
the
a
name in
table
itself.
of contents. Turn to page
possession.
81 for getting your soul ripped out.
Yeah. And well, in watching, because I have seen, I don't think, we watched The Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
And I don't believe you watched the 2013 remake of The Evil Dead.
No.
Which is just called Evil Dead.
Because I almost accidentally bought that one.
Okay.
Instead.
Today. Gotcha.
And then I realized it said 2013 and I was like, oh, fuck. I forgot there was a remake.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it and I was like, this trailer is actually pretty good. I was like, this
can't be from 1981.
I was like, this looks way better than the 80s.
Yeah.
Should have. And then
you recognize
I realized,
actors or?
No, I didn't recognize anyone. Not that I remember, but I all of a sudden saw the 2013 and I was like, oh fuck. Right. And so then I it wasn't on a lot of things. It was only on Amazon.
Yeah, same. That's how I found it.
And so
How to rent
I was
it.
looking up originally on like Apple TV. And that's where I almost
that
got
takes you
it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look up stuff on Apple TV.
But the Apple TV only had the 2013. And so I had to go find it on Prime and whatever. I did that. But it took a while and I almost watched the wrong movie.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Would have been bad.
They're just like...
But I definitely haven't seen 2013 either.
And it's more of like it took creative liberties and differences, and it's like a verbatim exact remake of that one. But in watching that, it really just like, makes this one look a little bit less of quality. But obviously, because it was made such a long time ago on a low budget, that's just, it is what it is. The budget for The Evil Dead was $375,000, which kind of sounds like a lot, but for filmmaking, that's not a lot of money at all. It's like barely a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and which it ended up making, initially at first 2.7 million, back in the box offices, I guess. And then up to date overall, nowadays it's made over 29.4 million.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's a pretty big return.
Yeah.
And it's become such a cult classic, but yeah, I watched it, like I said, 10 years ago. And in this rewatch, I don't even remember it looking so outdated. But it kind of does.
It looked, it looked really,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, we've seen plenty of movies from the 80s and 70s even that have held up better.
Yeah.
But again, they had a bigger budget and could do more things and hire better makeup artists and stuff like that.
And this was Sam Raimi's first, like, it was his directorial debut. So I'm sure at that point, you know, you're up and coming, you don't have the backing of like a big heavy producing studio, you know, to give you all that. So it really did what it could. You know, it said, I'm reading here that they started this with potential investors and only secured $90,000. So in starting, already in production, they only started with $90,000, and then they somehow got to the 375 by the time they were done.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was really
asking for chump change.
Yeah, but it's a triumph.
Yeah.
And so do you want to dive into The Evil Dead?
Yes.
Oh, and I guess we should have started with some warning, trigger warning, because there is, I guess, a scene in the film where it simulates
sexual assault.
Yeah, exactly. SA. Against Cheryl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheryl.
In the woods. So yeah, just if that's something that might bother you, maybe don't listen to this episode. Catch us again next week.
Or just, whenever we get to that point, we'll say skip ahead 30 seconds. Or something like that.
Yeah, that'll work. And so we are starting off with the title card pretty off the bat with The Evil Dead. And we're getting this kind of POV shot of what is the evil, essentially, I guess.
Yeah, like running through the forest. The moment I saw it, I go, okay, yep, this one's the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Because
this is right.
I wasn't sure. I was like, I am in the right film now.
And then, you know, it's really funny that we covered Jaws last week, and then Psycho was before that. And we have a movie that, yet again, relies heavily on POV shots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. We planned it.
Yeah, we sure did.
Totally meant to do that.
Can't wait for y'all to see what we do next week. Anyways. And so we're immediately introduced to our gang. They're in a car. They're on their way. They're all just kind of singing Miss, what's her name?
Shelly.
Yeah, she's the one
it took me
singing in the front.
So long
to get everybody's
names.
Because they don't really say them at the beginning too much.
Yeah, the only two that they like concretely say is
Scotty. And Ashley.
Yeah, well, and Ashley's I didn't even get until after Cheryl had already gone outside. I got Cheryl's and Scotty's name, and then Linda whenever he asked for the flashlight. But then I forgot her name and kept referring to her as Michigan State.
Because of her shirt.
That's what her sweater said.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of moments where it wasn't until later on where I was like, and it's because they're like screaming at them, and it's not even like just using their name casually. It's like, oh, it's because someone's getting attacked by this person.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Or that.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
So yeah, we're all in the car. It seems like we're going on a vacation or something because we're trying to find where we're going on a map, which talk about like, damn, I couldn't imagine having to rely on a map. My map skills are non-existent.
Oh yeah, no.
I even can't follow sometimes the map on my GPS.
Yeah.
And it's literally telling me where to go.
Maps, and then they were on like back roads too, which
for sure.
Not even major highways. Because if it's one thing to get on a major highway and then like, you know, where 175 miles of your trip are all on that same road and you don't turn. But
it's a little road. There's a left. There's a right. Maybe there's a bend here. Or there's a fork.
Or there's something that's not notated on the map.
Yeah, because they can be outdated.
Yeah.
And something that is not on the map is the incoming vehicle that I guess they're not paying attention to because they're trying to find where they're going.
Scotty's got his head turned around into the back seat, like being like, "Where are we going?" Blah blah, and he's not paying attention to what's in front of him.
Yeah, which I don't know if intentionally was like, is that already like a foreshadowing of like evil is afoot. Like,
yeah, I think because the evil, all the while, like, so you're getting that POV shot of the evil coming through the woods, and then you're getting the shots of the car and the teenagers driving, and then you're getting the shots of the big red truck coming that way, and it's flashing in between the evil, the red truck, the car, and it keeps flashing in between them until all of a sudden it gets to that high point where the cars are about to hit each other. And even Scotty makes a comment saying something about the steering wheel got stuck. I think the evil planned it to happen. Yeah, I think
that's
it was
what
intentional.
It felt like as well.
Yeah, I don't think that was pure accident. I think the evil was well timed and got in there right in the nick of time to try to really fuck them over.
Ash even said, I just got it tuned up yesterday. They said everything would be good. So it has to be more of like a supernatural element that's kind of taking over.
With the car. Yeah.
And after they're almost running with the truck and they're all kind of like, freaked out.
So
Scotty,
dramatic.
so very dramatic. That didn't even happen.
Shelly in the front seat going like,
yeah. All of the girls acting is very over the top and dramatic. Yes. Even the guys, even Ash, like at certain points when they're really focusing on him, watching what's going on, and he's just making all these faces.
There was one point towards the end of the film whenever he closed the door and then goes, he like turns his head so dramatically in the direction of the camera and was like looking off for something. But that was mainly probably one of the few times where Ash's acting was like, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was the best by far by everybody.
Yeah. Played by Bruce Campbell.
There, and he really has cemented himself in later, what's the word?
Later in
legacy.
His career?
Well, the legacy with this, in the movie and everything. But everyone else was just kind of over the top at a lot of points. I was writing like, okay, this is a lot. Like you're overselling it. Yeah. Or just even they're I think Cheryl at one point when she's outside and they're trying to get to that bridge, and she's just like, they're not gonna let us leave.
Yeah,
and
when she's like flopping, her legs like come up and stuff too. I was like, girl, what are you, like a mermaid or something? Get off the ground.
The worm.
What are you doing?
But yeah, so they start. Scotty starts honking. There's some weird people that are just waving, off the side of the road.
Just little old nice people.
Yeah, so they're talking about the place that they're staying, and they're like, yeah, we got it for cheap. It's so funny how like things never change, because like telling you why, like if I saw like. Yep, $69 for the whole weekend. Let's do it. And then we find out, we come like, oh, someone was murdered here.
It's cursed.
Literally. But they got a deal. And so and even one of the girls was like, watch it be like a pit or something like that, or like something's wrong with it. It's a dump. And so they get there. Before they get there, they start to see a bridge and they're going to cross it, but it's like what's run down, rickety. And so
it says, it's got a big old sign that says like cross at your own risk, maximum of 3 tons,
which is a ton is 2,000 pounds, so that's 6,000
and cars weigh a lot.
I wonder how much that car was.
I don't know. They were built like
they're actual metal, I believe, back in the day, not just plastic.
But I have no clue how much car weighs, and filled with also 5 people.
That's true.
Or 4. No, 5 people.
Let's just say that they did exceed the limit, because the tire goes through at one point.
Yeah.
Which is pretty scary. If I was on a bridge and that happens, I'd be terrified.
I would know. I would be freaking. No, absolutely not. Be getting out of the car, and I'd be walking back to the way that we came.
It's kind of
I'm not
already
getting trapped
like
on the other side.
That, and that's kind of like a sign that like we probably shouldn't be going this way.
Yeah.
Some divine intervention, whether it was evil or good, was just like, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe that was even like a warning. Like they got like evil, just like, hey.
It's almost like it's reminding me of Cabin in the Woods.
Tried to tell
you.
This
is our harbinger of death.
Yeah.
That's
how I even almost felt about those people that were waving. I was just like, they're saying like sayonara.
Sayonara.
Sayonara, my bad. Sayonara.
Sayonara. See you never.
For real. And so they end up getting over the bridge somehow. The car makes it, and then they get to the cabin, and
they aren't even driving on a road at this point too.
Oh yeah.
Like what they were driving on was it just looked like a path in the woods, and I was like
a game trail.
Yeah. It was very sketch.
And Oh, and
very
what Scott
overgrown.
even made a comment of like, that bridge is solid as a rock, and it was not solid at all.
They're like, we're fine.
Mhm.
And then Ash pops his head out and he's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not fine.
Gas it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, because of the way that the camera's even following them, it feels already as if like some inconspicuous, some evil is already like something's watching them.
Yeah.
And that's so actually, kudos to him as a director, because the way he uses his camera really makes it feel like that song. I always feel like that part.
Somebody's watching me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they end up getting there. They're all getting out. There's this like swinging porch thing.
Porch swing.
A porch swing. I said that backwards, but yeah. And it's moving already on its own. So that's like giving you creep vibes. Either ghost spirits.
I liked the way that it because the soundtrack at this point I didn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell the soundtrack budget was real small.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounded. I feel like I've heard high school bands play better stuff than that. But the soundtrack in this moment was good.
Yeah.
And you can get this like overlapping thumping coming through. And I was like, what is that? Because I was like, it's too intentional and too rhythmic to not be like something.
Yeah.
And then it explains it with the porch swing just slamming into the side of the house, which you can assume is wind. You could write it off as wind, but with it going as hard and as exact as it was,
in a very syncopated
sketchy
pace. And then it's funny because Scotty then reaches to grab like the keys that people keep on the ledge on top of a door, and as soon as he grabs them, it stops.
Yeah,
like
all of a sudden it's like bloop.
Not a slowdown, like just like stops.
The swing
in its
is
tracks.
like somebody held it and stopped it. Yeah, very creepy. Also, this place is a shack.
Oh yeah,
it's not a cabin.
Not necessarily a cabin at all.
It just looks like a shack from the outside. It's kind of like Doctor Who, bigger on the inside.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, some TARDIS technology happening.
Halloween Town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granny's purse.
And the bedroom and the houses and stuff. But he ends up going inside. We're opening the door and we can see that this place is also really dusty, really old.
It looked like smoke.
Yeah, it did.
Which it probably was.
I'm sure. Yeah, for dramatic effect.
Yeah, they used it. They used smoke.
So many points that you could tell that it was just like a baby smoke as well. It was just like, it wasn't even like an all-encompassing like fog. It was just like.
It was one smoke machine that they had, fog machine, is it would go up over the moon every time too.
Oh yeah.
Every single shot outside, all of a sudden the moon got encompassed by this.
That's not
smoke.
a cloud.
Yeah. No. It's just massive fog rolling in every single time.
And we're getting introduced what is essentially our sixth main character of the film, the cabin itself. Right, because there's 5 people. Yeah, 5 people. Well, I guess the Necronomicon would be the 6th, so this is the 7th. And he goes into like, is it like a shed or other part of it that has like all this stuff dangling, and it looks like I was just like, I called it the weird meat hook room. Yeah, essentially.
Thing. It kind of
chainsaw.
They weren't meat hooks, but yes, it reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah.
And it just looked like
almost like the bird room.
It looked nefarious. It looked like bad things happen in this room.
Oh yeah, it did not look like a safe or cozy place to be. Yeah. It looked like something very dangerous happens there, and I would not want to be in there. Also, I would see that room and go, "Okay,
nope,
we're turning around."
Yeah, that's creepy.
Actually, I'd probably see the shack and say,
"Nah." No. I mean, that's a hard pass. But it was also the 80s, and they're like young college age kids. What we're supposed to be is like 18, 19, 20-year-old. I don't know. I did some questionable things when I was that age.
Not certain how old they were.
They look a lot older than what I feel like
they were meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they were probably in college. But
and so they are because her shirt, remember?
State, yeah.
That while Scott is checking the place out, Ash and the girls are like getting everything out of the car. They're unpacking essentially. And then it just kind of fast forwards to more evening time, and we have is it Cheryl that's drawing? Cheryl's sitting there drawing she's a really good artist.
Clock on the wall. And the clock is chiming. It's not quite a grandfather clock, but it's one of those ones that has a little dangle thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called actually.
Yeah, because it's not an arm of the clock, but
I don't
it's
know.
like a
What's
little
called.
ticker.
Is it a bell?
I don't
No, it's
know.
not a bell. The ones that go,
It chimes.
ding dong every hour.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
The witch is dead. Ding dong. Something something.
Yeah.
Or I like the one from Shrek with Lord Quarfod or whatever, and Farquaad, and they all come out and they're like little things.
Oh yes.
Or that's just like their welcoming
That's
thing.
a cuckoo clock.
That's a cuckoo clock.
Yeah. Whenever they come out.
Yeah, that's true. Clapping little cymbals, people.
Like the little monkeys.
And so she's drawing the clock, and essentially, like, this is where the soundtrack plays heavy into it, because you're hearing like the ominous, not music, music behind it, and then the clock ticking itself. And then she's hearing at this point stuff outside, and then is this where she starts hearing the voices like "join us" or something?
I don't think she hears "join us" yet.
Okay.
But the clock's chiming, and then all of a sudden it stops working once it chimes on. I think it was like maybe 6:66 or something. Well, can't get to that, but that's what my immediate thought was too.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, there's only 60 minutes in an hour. But the clock stops working. This big gust of wind comes in. And then all of a sudden she's like being forced to draw.
It felt like her hand was possessed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was like something, almost like something was taking her arm, just squeezing it and making her draw through her little notepad.
Because she definitely wasn't, she was like freaked out.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my God.
And it makes her draw Doodle Bob. That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, it really did.
Is that Doodle Bob?
It was really bad, especially because you could tell she's a good artist by drawing that clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, the demon was just like, here we go.
Demon's not a good artist.
My best interpretation of the book.
This is the book.
Yeah. And so it's funny though too, because like all this is happening to her, right? And then like it just fast forwards to dinner time, but I guess she didn't tell. Oh, and she also saw the cellar door flapping open a little bit, like kind of bumping up.
Oh, that's right. I was like, oh, good, a chained up basement rattling. That seems really, really nice.
Really embracing.
I think she did tell them, because once they're at dinner, they're all they make a few jokes at her or something, being like, there's nothing, like, come on. And then like once it actually opens later, they're like, I guess it's still down there.
An animal or something.
Yeah. So, but this next shot here, I really liked with the blender.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought it was a nice little transition, like harsh cut to
that's true.
Something that's kind of loud and startling.
For like a student film, it's artistic. Like, it was pretty creative. Yeah.
I thought it was
not just like here we are, fade to black and fade to a new scene.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought it was a nice transition, and with the color of the red of whatever the hell they were drinking.
Yeah,
it was like sangria smoothie or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know, because she was pouring I don't know.
It was like a deep red, and they poured it into
probably
cups.
Some fruits, yeah.
So
who knows?
It looked maybe refreshing, but it also looked like
chunky.
blood. So she blends that up. They pour it all out, and they're all sitting there talking around the dinner table.
It's toasting time.
Yeah, Ash gives some sort of speech.
Yeah,
that seemed probably offensive nowadays.
Everything nowadays is offensive, but I can see why. And he's giving his speech. They're having their little moment. But then as soon as they're doing all that, or after he's doing all that, in the middle of the midst of it, the cellar door just swings open.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, what was that? And it very fast, like they go over to it and they're just like, well, what could it be? I think Cheryl's the one was like, it's an animal or something. Something's down there.
Yeah. And this is where they're all being like, well, maybe it is still down there. And then Scotty's like laughing in her face. He's like,
go check it out.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it's an animal doing this. Like, no, this isn't an animal.
Like, what would he?
But also, what else would it be?
But he's also he plays that role of like, he's a douche.
Yeah. He is a douchebag.
I don't know if he's supposed to be like the jock or like the like very macho, like whatever type of man. Because Ash definitely is more like, he gives sensitive, like caring for everybody. Like later on, like, shouldn't you, help people out?
Cabin in the Woods really followed Evil Dead pretty damn closely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it was reminding me of Cabin in the Woods.
Very much with the book like, and then everything and then them. Yeah. A lot of inspiration. That's one of Robert's, I think one of his favorite horror movies, The Cabin in the Woods.
I really liked it a lot.
And so let's talk about that. I'm just kidding.
Cabin in the Woods. It's been a second now.
And so Scotty goes down there. He goes to check, but as soon as he goes down there, and then like it takes him a while to respond, and then Ash starts to like call out his name, and he's not responding, and then his girlfriend Shelly is like, well, he's just goofing around or something, or someone says like he's just goofing around. It was Shelly, right?
Right.
And so Ash is like, well, I guess I got to go down there. So he asked Linda for a flashlight, but they only had the one, and that Scott took. So he gets the lantern and he starts to go downstairs. I really like the way it was kind of shot, like him going down as well. Like I like the way the tension that it was building up and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's going down there, and it's really dark, obviously, and he's calling for Scott, but Scott isn't calling out for him.
It looks like there's blood dripping from the pipes even there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, looks like blood, but it's probably just rust. I didn't know about the pipe scene later.
Okay. Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, for sure.
But I was just like,
I didn't notice that. I guess I was writing a note. But so when the blood scene pipe thing happened later, I was like, when the fuck was that? When was that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there was a scene where you could see the pipes were dripping some stuff, and it looked red, but I was like, it's probably just like rusty
water or something.
And water turning it red. And that might have been what it was in that instant, but it does.
Yeah, but later on it wasn't for sure.
Yeah, later on, no, that was blood. Everything
so much
was blood.
Also, if you have like a gore sensitivity, this might not be a good movie for you because there's so much gore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of the Evil Deads are good for you to watch then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Not even the newer ones.
Yeah.
And I think I told you about the 2013 one. It had a lot of gore in it. I feel like even more than than the Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, and that one had
a lot. So much.
Had some pretty gnarly scenes.
I will say that some of the scenes in the Evil Dead Rise were when it was coming to like them and they're like whatever type of what do you call that, like stabbings and whatevers were happening. I could tell more in this one about like CGI, whereas opposed to like the 2013 one, I felt like looked more realistic. But that's what makes it like kind of hard to watch stomach sometimes because it looks so real.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that they do.
Like even Linda's ankle scene.
Oh yeah.
And here looked a little too real.
Oh, with her pencil and stuff. Yeah. It
I was
actually.
like, it made my ankle hurt.
The way the blood was coming out and
stuff.
stuff.
And it looked like she was like almost like digging under the bone. And the bone was kind of wiggling around. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then a lot
of practical effects.
But whenever Ash looks at it later and it's just that one little tiny hole, I was like, what the fuck? This thing, like, she dragged it down. She, like, tore through
the skin
tendons and stuff, like, dragged it the length of the Achilles heel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and also I was confused as to why Linda was sleeping after that.
The way that she was sleeping throughout the entire incidents that had occurred, because there was a lot of noise going on in that house. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
but it could have just been
shock.
Like, or it could have just been like the evil taking over her already.
That's true.
And so they are, you know, he's down there. He hears the noise behind the door, a big old door. And he starts to walk closer to it. And then I think that's at what he opens the door, and then that's when Scott pops out or something.
Yeah. Scotty pops out and he's like, boom.
And there wasn't even like anything really scary. And then Scott's just like, here, I got to come show you this.
Yeah. And is this a Hills Have Eyes poster on the wall?
Was it?
I think so.
I did not notice.
It said Hills and then Eyes, but it was like torn and ripped.
It could have been. I don't know.
Because when did the original Hills Have Eyes come out?
I'll look it up because I don't remember.
Because if it is after 81, then JK. But I feel like it was earlier, wasn't it?
I feel like it was earlier. So maybe it was like a reference. Yeah. First 1977.
77. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been a Hills Have Eyes poster on the wall, which is pretty cool.
Good little. Well, and Sam Raimi is really known for putting Easter eggs and stuff in his films. Maybe it had a heavy influence on him.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have to look that up. But he ends up Scott showing him all the I guess the necromonic. I can't say it. Necronomicon.
Comic-Con.
And all this culty-ish whatever shit. And they bring it upstairs, of course, for everybody to see.
Yep. They also find tape recorder and then this weird like knife thing that's got like this
little skull at the end.
Person. It kind of reminds me of you know, what's the little green guy from from Ghostbusters.
Oh, I've never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Are you talking about Flubber? No, I'm just kidding.
I did love Flubber.
No, I've never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh.
So I don't know.
That's a great movie. But I forgot the little green guy's name. Slime.
Also the 80s, right?
Slimer. Yeah.
What was he? Is he a ghost? Little green thing you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of like ectoplasm-y ghost kind of thing. And there's at one point where he like kind of bunches up, and that's how that back of the skull thing was stacked.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it reminded me of that.
I think I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just one scene where it looked like that. Can we talk about how this Necronomicon is tiny?
It's tiny
in comparison to the Evil Dead Rise one.
Yeah.
Which was what I saw first, so that's my basis.
Yeah, it's really comical.
It's clearly drawn with ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
It was just pen. It didn't look like
It didn't look menacing. It didn't look anything.
I was like, this looks like a high schooler sketchbook.
It looks...
The doodles I would draw in class.
Very arts and crafts.
My parents.
Project done at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of parts, but that specifically, the book does not, they definitely soup it up. And the remakes.
They do.
Yeah.
And then it actually, the pages do look like as if they could be made of like human flesh and written in blood. Yeah. This one, because it said it was made of human flesh, but I was like, that's like craft paper. It wasn't craft paper, but they did
what they could with what they had.
They did.
They really did.
They at least made the outside look pretty disgusting.
They were trying to sell an illusion of more than what they could do.
Yeah.
But we get it.
We get it.
And it works out.
It just was comical.
And it's led into the inspiration of all these newer, reiterations of it.
Yeah.
So now we have...
that are actually what they could envision and what
they wanted it to probably look like. Yeah, for sure. That's
but
probably such a like...
time.
To be like... to create something and then like have things be remade. Because I know Sam Raimi didn't direct the 2013 one, but the person who did direct it, I think it was like... they had worked together, so he was still like had some like oversight on like or his whatever. I know in this newer one, I don't think he had as much of like input in it. It was a different person's project, but that must be like something to have like people do your work and then like elevate it. Like I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah.
Like does that make you feel like shit, or do you like oh this is super cool? Like I don't know, emasculating in a way, but not your masculinity, but like your art almost. Like does he emasculate your art?
Just being like.
Oh damn! They did it better.
Well, shit.
But I guess it should only be taken as an honor, right? Because people imitating art.
People are imitating.
Yeah, and that should be a form of flattery. People say, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
And so, anyways, we're up there. We're showing the girls now all this stuff, and they start to play the tape that they found, and so this is where we get the explanation of how like
Kandarian runes from ancient Sumerian times, stuff of that. They call it. They don't actually refer to it as an Necronomicon.
No, they don't.
But they do say something else and then say that it roughly translates to the Book of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it was in another language. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not write it down.
No, it's all good.
You guys.
But they're listening to the tapes of it, and of course I think it's Cheryl who's just kind of like, or if not all of the girls are just like, turn this off, like turn it off, like
Cheryl
this is,
especially though.
Right?
Cheryl was not a fan.
She was like, this is dark-sided, I don't want to listen anymore. And of course Scotty is being like a jerk and is just like haha whatever, and he keeps playing. They stop it, but he plays it again.
Yeah.
And at this point, that's whenever it gets to the point of the doctor on the tape saying like this incantation that is in the book that apparently releases evil. And as he's saying the incantation, we see the evil outside,
it like snaps a tree or something, and then the tree branch
goes through the window,
breaks through the window.
And this really freaks out Cheryl, of course. And then everybody's just like, oh, okay, that was a lot.
Because we had her super dramatic scene of her yelling, turn it off.
And then I think Scotty is still just laughing at this point.
Yeah, he was.
She's like,
and then
whatever.
that's when the tree branch breaks through. And that's it. At that point, I would be like, can we take her a little in this tape a little more seriously?
Yeah, because like things are happening.
But of course, Scotty's just like, she's acting like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And this is where we get Ash's more like kind of thoughtful side, because he's like, man, you shouldn't have taken it that far. You saw how she was, obviously getting agitated by it.
Yeah.
you spooked her out. And so after all of that happens, Ash, I think it cuts to Ash and Linda, right? They're back in their room or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're talking. They're kind of having a heart-to-heart moment. And he gives her a necklace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to note the little eye scene that they had.
Oh, yeah.
Because she goes to check on Cheryl before they stay up to listen to the storm, is what he said. And as he's like waiting for her to get back, he pulls out this necklace or a box. And once she comes back, he acts as if he's asleep and kind of just has the necklace conveniently placed on his lap. And there's this whole back and forth scene between Linda and him, and her looking at him to make sure he's still asleep.
Yeah.
As she's like trying to sneak it out of his hand, and then him looking at her the whole time,
knowing,
basically.
Yeah.
And then shutting his eyes as soon as she looks at him. And that has a funny callback later.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I was like, oh,
That's
this is entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little camp, but it's also, it's almost like a soap opera, horror soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it gives. And so they have their whole little moment, and then they're talking. And then after all of this, it pans to the outside of the cabin, and then we're almost like a POV shot again of the evil watching them. And we have them, and then it pans over to Shelly and Scott in another room.
I couldn't remember Shelly's name, and at first I thought she was Ashley. And
okay, I see. That was a little confusing at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Which Ashley, I like Gone with the Wind kind of thing. It's a pretty well known.
Or like Leslie.
Yeah, can be a guy's name as well. And
can be, or just people made it that.
Yeah.
I feel like people just were like, no,
it's a guy's name. Yeah. And so, but at first I thought her name was Ash, and so I called her Fake Ash.
Gotcha. Okay.
For a bit, because I didn't
like,
know her name.
Fake Ash.
I didn't know her name until she got turned. And then he was like, "Where's Shelly? Shelly?"
And then we couldn't stop saying her name.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what every girl too, after they got turned, it was like, oh, now we're getting names.
Now, now we actually know who these people are.
And so, it pans all the way after we're panning to Shelly and I was about to say Scott. It goes to Cheryl. And I guess that was me mixing Scott and Cheryl together. Carl. Jimmy Neutron. It's focusing in on her, and she starts to hear noises, right? And then the voices of "Join Us."
Yes, this is where she hears the "Join Us," and for some odd fucking reason,
she decides she's going to
go outside. And I was like, girl, at least tell someone. Like, you're already freaked out. Why would you just walk outside?
It sounds like a lot of red flags, and it sounds like you should have just stayed in your room.
Yeah, exactly. Did you know you could be putting oil and chemicals in your coffee? I love coffee creamer, but I don't think I've ever turned the bottle around to actually see what's inside. When I did, I found out many of my favorite creamers contain ingredients I would never intentionally add to my coffee cup, like canola oil, dipotassium phosphate, ew, and artificial flavors. Laird Superfood all started when big wave surfer Laird Hamilton needed morning fuel that could allow him to spend the entire day chasing the ultimate wave. He couldn't find anything in the market that met his ingredient standards, so made himself the ultimate plant-based creamer. Laird Superfood started and launched its first product, Original Superfood Creamer, in 2015. Laird Superfoods contain no artificial flavors, colors, or additives, and no sugars from highly refined corn syrup. All Laird products are sustainably sourced and thoroughly tested to ensure that you're incorporating the cleanest, finest fuel into your routine. All Laird products are also made of all-natural whole food ingredients, and they are crafted from the highest quality all-natural real food ingredients. Are you ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported? Go to lairdsuperfood.com and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code BOO at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today.
I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go. There are also over 30 plus colors to choose from. I myself chose black because it matches the color of my soul. What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to this quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever. Did you know that dehydration is the leading cause of daytime fatigue? I was shocked to learn that even mild dehydration can cause headaches, muscle weakness, and brain fog. But luckily, there's a solution. Cure. Cure Hydration is an oral rehydration solution that contains the perfect balance of electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb water and rehydrate quickly. The formula is made with all natural ingredients like coconut water, powder, and pink Himalayan salt, and is free from artificial flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. Cure Hydration is vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, making it a great option for anyone with dietary restrictions or preferences. The packets are convenient and easy to use. Just mix with water and drink. They're perfect for on the go, travel, or anytime you need a quick and effective hydration boost. Hydration is more than just drinking water. That's what Lauren Picasso, a lifelong endurance athlete, discovered as she struggled to stay hydrated no matter how much water she drank. Lauren founded Cure, a science-backed electrolyte drink mix to make hydrating easy for everyone. Cure believes that hydration should be simple and effective, but also clean and natural. That's why they use only the highest quality plant-based ingredients and avoid any artificial or harmful additives. They're committed to transparency and honesty. All of their ingredients are clearly listed on their website and packaging, and they're always happy to answer any questions or concerns. Ready to combat dehydration? Try Cure today and feel the difference for yourself. Use code BOO for 20% off your order.
Are you tired of the same old boring puzzles? Mix things up with Wongo puzzles. Each puzzle is a custom design with intricate patterns and whimsical shapes that will keep you engaged for hours. Plus, their eco-friendly materials and commitment to sustainability make Wongo puzzles a guilt-free way to unwind. Wongo puzzles are 100% wooden puzzles, meaning they'll last forever. Each piece is hand-drawn, so no two pieces are the same, and you'll discover some fun, whimsy pieces as you work through it. They come in a custom wooden box, which is perfect for storage and gifting. With stunning design and unique shapes, Wongo puzzles are a cut above the rest. So what are you waiting for? Go to wongopuzzles.com and pick your puzzle today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO and get 10% off of your order. This is the most fun you've had with a puzzle guaranteed or your money back. Go to Wongo, WONGO, puzzles.com and use the code BOO to get 10% off your order and get puzzling right now. Wongo.
So Cheryl is outside. She is not running. She's going through, well, also too, like, I don't understand how there's no visibility. Are we just going by moonlight? Because she's out there with no flashlight or no anything.
Yeah, I think she is going by moonlight,
Yeah.
which it did look well lit enough to be doing that, but still not.
Not a smart idea.
Yeah.
After you like already hearing and seeing and feeling a whole bunch of evil spooky vibes.
And the whole, like, she just walks so far away from the cabin that I was just shocked. I don't know. What are you doing, girl? Get back into the safety of your room.
Yeah, but she decides not to. And so she still is going, like you said, further and further into the woods until she starts to hear noises, and then the trees like start to snap around her.
Yep. And this is where, trigger warning, if you'd like to skip ahead a few 30 seconds, you might as well.
Maybe a minute. But essentially she's running, she's freaked out, and these vines and twigs and branches start to like grab her and wrap themselves around her to where they have her pinned down on the ground.
Yeah.
And we have...
And it's ripping her clothes off of her.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, we get a boob
takes
exposed.
the robe off, and then, then it opens up her shirt, her boob's exposed. It like wrapped, it like cupped her boob.
Yeah. Very much like the evil entity is being sexualized in the moment because it this like massive just stick just pops out of nowhere and goes right towards her, no square.
Yeah.
And we get a scene of, her getting sexually assaulted by the woods, essentially.
By a tree.
And I guess this is the way of like the evil itself entering her body first. I guess, I think it was probably, it was a different time as well. There wasn't a lot of like, and maybe just for shock factor as well. This was probably put in there, and I'm sure Sam Raimi wasn't trying to like, trigger people or do this or do that.
No.
But it's a pretty graphic scene as well, because, she's, making noises, and it makes it look like sex.
Yes.
But like with a tree. Yeah.
And it's not short.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty long scene.
It is a pretty long scene where it happens.
But finally she's able to break free from the branches and all that stuff that's like holding her down, and she's naked and she's just like running, trying to get back to the cabin. Another dramatic moment, because she just like keeps falling every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, baby, just go. Like,
get up. Stop. No.
She keeps falling, and just like before, we get all these POV shots of like the evil chasing behind her, and she finally gets to the door and she's trying to knock on it, but nobody's opening. So she's trying to get the key, but it's like one of the keys is like tucked behind the the wood
Brick
framing
kind of
thing, so she can't pull it. Poor thing is just like terrified at this point and hyperventilating,
Rightly
trying
so.
to get inside. And thankfully, before the evil gets to her, as we can see from the POV shot, Ash opens up the door and kind of falls into the room in his arms, and is kind of like, oh my God, like the trees are alive. And she's ranting about how everything's alive outside, and
They know.
Yeah.
The trees know.
And at this point she looks crazy.
Yes.
And she looks beat up, because they're like, what happened to you? Like, who did this?
She's
What
covered
did
in
this to you?
scratches all
Yeah.
over her face. Her clothes are torn to shreds. She's indecent, basically.
And she wants to leave. She really wants to leave.
Is adamant about wanting to leave. She's like, I will not stay here. Like,
and Ash is like, no, we'll leave like in the morning or something. Like, just, and she's like, nope, take
right
me now.
Right
So he's
now.
like, okay, I guess you can stay somewhere in town. And so he tries to get her to the car, and they do get to the car. Sorry, not try. They get to the car, and when he's trying to turn it on, it won't turn on. And she's, I love how she's like, they won't let us leave. I know it won't turn.
It's not going to start. Yeah.
And then it just starts off like, it's like 2
On
seconds.
cue.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
right after that. But they end up driving out. And then is it that the path is like obstructed or something? They have to stop.
There's literally no reason for them to stop.
Okay,
Ash just stops, gets
right?
out of the car.
To like go investigate something. I don't know what.
I guess he saw something, because then
Yeah.
even Cheryl was like, "What? Do you see something?"
And he's not talking to her.
No.
And she's just like, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And
she
then
clearly is terrified. Like, why would you leave her in this situation? I guess he was going to look at the bridge before they drove on it, because she eventually makes it to the bridge, and we see that the bridge is destroyed.
yeah.
The bridge is gone.
But then like, I feel like, but she beat him.
Yeah.
So like, what? I don't know what he was doing.
Unless they
Yeah.
somehow passed on the way back, and it just seemed like a much longer walk.
I don't know. Yeah.
But I
it
feel
could have
like
been
I
like
would
10
have.
feet.
Yeah, it could have been.
It felt very far though, the way the movie, like the way she walked out.
I feel like if it were me, I would get right up to the bridge and then stop
Yeah.
and get out of the car and investigate. Not that far away.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And if I were her, I would have kept driving and just left him. But because I'm pretty sure the keys were still in the ignition. But anyways, this is where I was mentioning earlier. She throws her little, not a tantrum. But
It is a tantrum.
Yeah, just kind of flailing on the floor and like, they're not gonna let us leave. We're never gonna leave. We're all gonna die. No, I
Yeah.
don't think she says we're all gonna die just yet.
Not yet.
But she's like, we can't leave. And they go back to, or it cuts back to them at the cabin, and Ash is listening to the rest of the tapes by the doctor, and it's basically saying like he found out the hard way that the only way to get rid of the evil is by bodily dismemberment.
Yep. Dismembering the bodies.
Which doesn't even work later on, essentially.
No.
Because they're still alive and reanimating.
Well, and even it didn't really work in this one. Like Shelley was still flopping around afterwards,
Yeah.
and then Linda's head was still just
Laughing.
chatting away
Yeah.
while it was off of her body.
It wasn't until the ending where he was able to get rid of them, which even then I was just like, I don't even feel like they're gone.
Yeah. No, it didn't. It didn't seem like they were gone.
Yeah. And so at this point,
Like clearly something wasn't. It
yeah,
got him in the
by
end.
the end. And so at this point, we have Miss Shelley and Linda doing this card thing, and Linda is trying to guess the card number that Shelley is having in her hand, and Linda is letting Shelley is letting Linda believe that she's right and she's guessing everything right, but she's not. Which is
It's like
there.
an ESP.
Yeah, and it's there for show because then we have Cheryl, who's not even close to them, start naming what's on the cards.
Yep.
And
every
she's
single
getting them
one.
right. Yeah. So
Even the ones that she hasn't pulled out of the stack yet, we just see like, oh shit.
what's up with her?
Yeah.
And she turns around and her face, the makeup.
My notes say, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Like a 12-year-old did it.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm sorry. My bad. I don't want to be disrespectful.
It just
I'm
was
sorry.
very low budget.
Yeah.
And that was evident.
And so she's levitating and she's basically saying like,
Why have you disturbed our sleep?
yeah, we're awake now. Now we're going to kill you. And
You'll
you're
die like the others before you.
very much that. And so after all that's happening, she's levitating. They're all very like shocked and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. They're like, what's wrong with her?
But in like a so chill
Nonchalant way.
Yeah, we're not freaking out.
They're just
We're
like,
just
literally, they're like, what's wrong with her?
yeah. And as soon as she's done giving her little speech, she passes out. She falls on the floor. And then we're going to check on her to make sure she's like okay or whatnot. But as Ash is walking up to her, we see her kind of picking up a pencil, and Linda's close to her. And this is where she stabs Linda in the freaking ankle area heel.
And it is nasty.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job.
And she was digging in there, like you said, for a while.
She was, yeah. And then not only does she stab Linda, she also chunks Ash. Not even just like a little like shove.
Oh, and she slapped
like
Linda too, remember?
Yeah.
After she stabbed her.
And she like straight up threw Ash across the room, and he gets into one of his many tumbles with the bookshelf. He got I was
So
like,
many times,
Ash,
yeah.
get away from that bookshelf.
And she's got the demon strength
Yeah, she
to
really
take
does.
all of them on. And so, because I'm like, Cheryl is strong. And at this point, I think Scott kind of gets one upper hand on her, and he ends up kicking her into the cellar.
Yep.
She falls down there, pretty funny, and he's trying to like lock it up, which he does just in the nick of time. Her little fingers are there, but he's like ding ding, and
Smooshes.
yeah.
And as she turns into a doll, basically, you can tell it's clearly not
a human.
a
anymore.
human. Yeah. That's just being slammed back and forth.
It's hilarious.
It was very entertaining. Yeah, it was funny.
And they're
I'm sure it looked great for the 80s.
yeah
maybe.
for back then.
No,
Well, no.
Mike is saying no.
No, okay. Yeah, it wasn't. It was. You could tell. And so the gang is now talking about like getting out of there. And they're all trying to, I guess, you know, what do you do? What kind of game plan do you have when there's a broken bridge and you don't know where you're at? You know what to do. You don't know what the fuck's going on with her.
Yeah, you're stranded.
Yeah. And so, all while they're making that noise or doing that, Cheryl's down there, like, you know, making a bunch of like gurgling and noises and like just being, I don't know,
Obnoxious.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Many times it reminded me of like a monkey on a cage being like, "Hoo, hoo,"
No,
you know,
yeah,
like a gorilla or something.
And then Shelly is like, can she just stop making all those noises?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also yelling, "What's wrong with her eyes?
Her
What's wrong
eyes.
with her eyes?"
And I was like, oh, these girls are tripping. Like, this is one bad acid trip for everybody. Like, that would be the actual movie, is they all took tabs of acid, and this is just one big trip. And so
And they all killed each other
exactly.
for
And
no
so
reason.
at this point, we cut to Scotty talking to Miss Shelley, and I love how he's just like, everything's gonna be all right in the morning. It's okay. And I'm just like, what? Like, what
Hey,
about
if we
this
know
is all right?
anything from horror films, daylight means nothing.
Yeah.
Brings no safety.
Remember the strangers? And so the girl gets the girl gets attacked through a window. At this point, we have Shelley, it was Shelley, I think he told that, I guess. Or was it?
Yeah.
Was it Linda or Shelly?
Linda's asleep.
Asleep. That's right. Linda is asleep
tucked
after
in.
the stabbing incident.
Yes, she is in shock or something. She's passed out.
Yeah.
Whatever
so
it is, she's not awake.
Shelly is looking out the window and like I guess because she sees it, but I don't know what she sees necessarily. Or
Yeah, but
because
she
it's
sees
just, like,
something.
evil force. I don't know. And like the window just crashes in front of her, breaks, and the boys hear it, and Scotty goes in the room to try to check on her, but she's nowhere to be found.
This is where I finally got Shelly's name.
And because he's calling out for her and he's trying to look for her, she's not responding. He looks behind the closet and he goes into the restroom, and all these moments are just kind of they're set to like build up the tension of like, oh my god, is she there, is she not?
Yeah, because I thought she was going to be behind the closet door, like
Me
in the
too.
window.
And then I thought she was going to be behind the shower curtain, but she wasn't.
It
Yeah.
was only a disgusting tub.
Yeah, and which
Needs
is
to
also a
be
red flag.
Scrubbed.
And so she ends up, of course, she didn't pop at that moment, but 5 seconds later, she comes out and attacks Scotty from behind.
Yep.
And surprise attack. And at this point, they work their way from that room into like the living room area, and he ends up throwing her, pushing her essentially, and she falls into like the fire that they had.
With her head.
And so she's kind of burning a little bit, getting scars, and you can tell he's like kind of coming out of his like what's that word, the adrenaline, and he's like, oh my god,
Confusion,
Shelly is burning. So he tried to pull her out, and she's just like, thank you for saving me from the coals of my pretty flesh. And then she's like, you look pretty.
Yeah, you have pretty skin, give it to us.
And attacks him again,
and then Ashley gets in another fight with the bookshelf at this moment, and the way he gets tangled in the bookshelf both times,
yeah,
I was like,
and he's like
boy,
stuck.
yeah, his arms like through the thing, and I'm like, what are you doing?
And at this point, I think this is when she tries to get the sword, right? That we saw.
Yeah.
The special ancient sword. I don't know.
I just call it the fancy sword.
The fancy sword. And so she's trying to stab Scotty, but at this point, he is able to kind of hold her off just enough to grab a knife and starts cutting her wrist.
Yeah.
And then this is where she decides, I'm just gonna bite it off.
Yep. She eats off her own wrist.
Yeah, and makes her hand pop off because I guess that's what you do whenever you have an open wound. Yeah,
I guess so.
And
it looked pretty good at first.
And this is where we're getting also shots of like Bruce Campbell of like, there's a lot of shots where it's just like, we don't see what's happening, but we're just watching him have facial reactions, and he's just like,
because he's standing there with the axe, just like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
He's just like, huh?
Yeah.
In the corner, and it's like, what? Come, move your feet.
In disbelief.
Yeah.
I feel like, and in shock, but because then we have Scotty getting up, and at this point, oh no, Scotty stabs her, is able to stab her with the sword.
Yep, stabs her in the back.
And she's like,
oh, apparently I called it old eerie thing as well.
The sword?
Yeah.
Okay. And she starts
I called it lots
to like,
of name.
what's the word? Like,
she's spewing pink Peptol milk stuff.
Yeah, it's like the longest death.
Abysmal.
The longest death ever as well, because she's just, well, maybe later was the longest death, but
she's just, yeah,
because it's like a death but not a death, because she's like, you know, spewing all of that, but then like 5 seconds later she's back up again, reanimated. And at this point, this is where Scotty's like yelling at Ash to like hit her or something, hit her with the axe, and Scotty grabs the axe from Ash, and then he's able to dismember her. Yeah.
Yep. I liked how the screen went red with blood too.
Oh,
I thought that was pretty nice. I was like, okay, that's good.
And and then of course, like, he is able to dismember her, but her body is still like
flopping
moving
around.
Yeah.
I wrote
flopping
on the deck and flop like a fish.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
More SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Doodlebob.
Doodlebob. Wow, the amount of references. And so Shelly's dead. She's, I mean, for the most part, I feel like, because at this point they're like, what are we going to do now? And they're Scott's like, we're going to bury her.
We have to bury her. That's the only thing to do. And Ash is like, we can't bury her. She's our friend. And he was like, well, she's dead.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want to take her to the hospital?
Yeah. Her head's off. Arms are off.
Yeah. Literally
legs.
with like torso, legs, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. She's just a little stump.
And I think this is when they start to talk about Linda, and then Ash is just like, because they bury her. Right? They go through the process of actually burying her. We see it all happen.
In like a sheet. That sheet, I will say, looked disgusting. It looked like they just had like just tons of meat, bloodied meat in there or something. It looked pretty nasty. I was like, ew.
I can see that.
But believable.
And so they do all the burying and stuff, and then we're back inside, and this is when we get conversation of like, well, Linda's been asleep this whole fucking time. And so
the grave they dug for Shelley was way too shallow as well.
oh yeah,
Sorry. I was like, y'all just placed her.
and
Did y'all dig
a little
like
ditch.
maybe 4 inches is what
Yeah.
it looked like.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, magically, it was,
A grave.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then later on, like Linda gets this big ass deep hole. Like I was like, what?
But not even that deep. It was still only like up to his
Knees.
like below his waist. Yeah.
Mhm. And so, Scott wants to leave. He's tapping out. He's like, I've had enough. I don't know how. I'll find a trail. I'll do something, but
And
I'm
he's
leaving.
saying,
And
like, fuck y'all.
oh yeah, for the most
Save
part.
your own girlfriend. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't, because
I don't
Ash is
blame
being
him.
like, yeah. Ash is being like,
I gotta stay here and take care of
Linda
Linda. Yeah.
can't like walk that far with her
Mhm.
leg. Like she can barely walk. Like, what are we going to do?
And Scott's like, well, we'll leave her and we'll send someone in the morning.
And he was like, no. And then he was like, okay, well then I'm going
Bye.
and you
Mhm.
can stay here.
Deuces. I'm
Yep.
out. Mhm.
That's your own girlfriend. My girlfriend's dead. So
Yeah.
don't matter no more.
And so, I mean, like, I can't blame him, but also, like, can't move, but, like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, at the same after this, we see Cheryl is still being Cheryl down there, just, like, this whole time, she's just been, like, just probably spewing, like, curse words and, like, you know, you're gonna die, wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah, all this time.
Mocking
Because she's
them.
still doing it. And then Ash goes in to check on Linda. And this is when he goes in, he sits on the bed next to her. And he's trying to check her wound. And one, like you said, it was a baby little ass hole.
Yeah.
And then
it looked like the pencil only like
Yeah.
went in
It's a little
once
jab.
and just came right back out.
well, and there was no like ugly looking, like it was bloody earlier, you
Yeah.
know? And so anyways, I really
Bruising.
and then the whole part where it's like, it's supposed to look like a virus spreading, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's just like, yeah, I
it
don't
was
know.
instant. It was like pop. All of a sudden it
Yeah.
was there, and then she just pops up out of the bed. It was very
Yeah.
comical.
Because she's doing that maniacal laughing that she's doing, and she pops up very like,
Like Dracula.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly like Dracula would out of his casket. And so she is chasing Ash out of the room, right? Oh no, she doesn't. Sorry, she just
She just sits there
she
laughing.
just sits there in the middle of the doorway, and we can tell that she's crazy. And so I think at the same time, Scott just happens to like return to the front door, and he's like
Scotty
hurt.
comes back and he's been fucked up.
Mhm.
By
Maybe the same
something.
thing happened to him that happened to Cheryl.
Yeah. Well, the
Mhm.
back of his pant leg was torn,
Mm.
and I was like, "Did it get in?"
Got him
this
too.
Little
It's a
booty
little
hole?
bussy. And so
I
he-
wondered.
it could have probably happened. I mean, I'm sure the evil was an equal employer,
Yes.
opportunity employer, something like that. And so yeah, Scott returns and he's like mortally wounded. You can tell he's dying.
Yeah. He looked.
Because he's like coughing
rough.
up blood and stuff. And then he's talking to Ash, and he's just like, I don't want to die. Like, please don't let me die. Don't leave me.
You're not gonna leave me
But like
here,
I
are
left,
you?
but he left everyone else. So like fuck him.
Yeah.
And so Ash is trying to get information from him, like, you know, is there a way out of it? And he's like, there is a trail, but the trees are alive, and like there's no way through it,
The
really.
trees know
Mhm.
and stuff. And then all the while, Cheryl's sitting there mocking them. She's like,
Yeah.
"You're not gonna leave me, Ash, are you?"
Yeah. And then Linda's just laughing and laughing and laughing, and
She's just sitting down like crisscross applesauce.
yeah,
And just sitting
she's
there
actually
laughing.
the most chill.
Yeah.
But I can see that laughing would get tired really quick.
I would be like, shit, just like exactly Ash was. Like,
He starts
shut
to
the
slap
fuck
her
up,
around.
Linda.
Yeah, and slap her
Please.
around so she'll stop, and she ends up kind of, well, she's still laughing, but then she kind of, oh, he pulls a gun on her. That's right.
Yeah, he pulls a gun on her, and then all of a sudden she comes back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
She's normal Linda again. And he's like, oh my God. He pulls her into his arms. And then we hear Cheryl's voice from down below saying, like, talking to Ash, saying, like, you know, it's me.
Let me
your
out.
sister.
Mm-hmm. Which at this point I was like, oh, she was a sister.
It would make sense as to why she was like the third wheel.
Fifth wheel, or third
Yeah.
wheel. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I guess
Fifth
that,
wheel.
that works. But yeah, she's like, you know, trying to gain his sympathy and like let me out. But as soon as he gets close enough, she just fucking like punches through the flooring.
Yeah.
And grabs him, and she's like, ha ha, got ya, I'm gonna kill you now. And at this point,
I can't believe he even pulled out his keys to get close to it. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
fucking idiot. You are so dumb.
And then he's able to back off of her. And then that's whenever Linda is cackling again. He's like, oh, crap. Yeah. So it's kind of looking bad from all angles at this point.
And then she starts singing the song, "We're gonna get you, not another peep, time to go to sleep."
He ends up dragging Linda outside because I guess he's just like, well, I'll just leave you out here. And he goes back in, and at this point, I feel like he's very like delusional. Like he's just kind of like, because he starts talking about like it's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be all right.
He was talking nonsense.
Yeah, we're gonna all leave in the morning. Like this is gonna be okay.
A-okay. All the while he's like pouring water on Scotty, but Scotty's already dead.
Yeah, at this point.
Scotty's dead.
And so I think Linda comes back, right?
Yeah, Linda comes in, stabs him with the fancy knife, but then he takes it out and he impales Linda with it, and then she starts spewing the blood and milk again. That's
milk
what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it did, and like all the bubbles that were coming out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then at this point, it's like a duo. Linda and Cheryl start attacking him.
Yeah, and Cheryl's being like a monkey in a cage again, just being like, at the side.
But at this point, he's able to knock Linda out. And then
that's when he stabs her.
He stabs her, right? Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And he stabs her, knocks her out, and then he takes her to that table, starts chaining her to it.
Yeah.
Which clearly this room was not a good room because
why do they have a full-sized human table where you can chain someone down to?
Yeah. That seems pretty messed up. And he was about to hack her apart with a chainsaw. Yeah. But then he stops, and then he's like crying over her.
Yeah, he can't bring himself to do it.
And I was like, boy, not the time. Like we've already seen that. Like
she's
Shelly was
come back
still
again.
flopping around. Like we can't. No, you don't got time to be crying over her. I'm sorry, bud.
For some reason, he decides not to go through with it, and he's just like, "Well, I'm just gonna bury you as is." And she's still knocked out for the most part. She's not coming to. And so he takes her all the way out by Shelly's grave, and that's whenever he digs that hole. And he's trying to put her in the hole, but she ends up coming back to fucking life again.
This is where the eye thing happened again, too, which I thought was really funny. Because, like, every time while he was digging, she opens her eyes.
To see if he could
yeah, and then whenever he looks back, she closes them. And it happened, like, 2 or 3 more times, and it was just exactly like what had happened earlier, and it made me laugh. But yeah, he buries her like only up to like his knees, like we said. And he sees the necklace. He tries to pick it up, but all of a sudden
she pops up and grabs him on his ankle, tries to get to him. And, essentially they're in a bit of a fight, but
she tears his leg up.
Yeah. And every blow that he tries to do on her, cause he's like hitting her with some big piece of wood, like a 2x4 or something. She's just like lumber. She's like laughing. She's just like laughing. She thinks it's funny or it tickles. I mean,
he had to be really strong because he was picking up like straight up lumber. It was like a big ass piece of more than a 2x4, and he was just smacking her with it. But then all of a sudden she stops it, which was really cool.
Yeah,
and she basically lifts him up, but she's like still laying on her back. So that amount of strength is just
demon strength.
Yeah, bizarre. And
that's whenever she's like about to pounce on him after he's like been on the ground, and then he grabs the shovel, and as she's coming to him, he knocks her head right off.
Takes her head right off.
Yep.
And then she's just still sitting there laughing. It still doesn't make her shut up.
Yeah, and then like, poor him, like her body falls on him, and it's just like bleeding all over him.
And still attacking him.
Oh, yeah.
The body was still definitely prying at him. And the legs were trying to they were floundering.
Yeah.
Basically.
And so all this shit's happening. He's like, damn, well, what the fuck? And so he ends up going back to the cabin, and we see that Cheryl has escaped from the cellar. And Scott is nowhere to be seen. So at this point, he grabs the gun, and he is looking around the house. He's very paranoid. Like this is where we get a lot of the scenes where there's just like noises go around in the house, and we just have him we're like, you think this is where he like turns his head left?
Yeah,
or something?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it was once he got back inside the house. After I think the moment he got inside the house, he turned his head, and then was I think looking to see where Cheryl was.
And he's making his way all the way through it for a good while, and then I think this is where Cheryl finally fucking comes out.
Yeah.
Did he go to the cellar yet?
No,
not yet. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, he
shoots
Cheryl, pops up, and then he shoots her right in the face. And I was like, he has no issue shooting Cheryl.
For
he
real.
had issues killing Shelly. He had issues
But
killing
his own sister, he's just like, bam.
Bam. I know.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I guess they didn't have a good relationship.
Where are the reservations now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I feel
was-
that.
I was like, okay, that seems unfair, but whatever.
Poor Cheryl got blown up. And so he ends up going to the cellar to look for a box of shells because he ran out of ammo.
The moment he said shells, I was like, pasta?
Oh, really?
My brain, I did not think shotgun shells. I was
yeah.
like, why are we talking about macaroni right now?
Because he needs to make some killer mac to heal everybody's soul.
Shells and cheese. Sorry, macaroni is a different type of noodle.
Macaroni would bring me from a demonic state.
Yes.
It would bring me back. That's comfort food.
I want mac and cheese.
Yeah, for real. And so they are he's in the cellar looking for the box of shells. He does find them. And then this is whenever he goes down there and the pipe is leaking blood.
And it just
Breaks on him.
busts.
All
Yeah.
over him. Yeah.
And there's just blood pouring down out of the pipes. And
it's coming out of the sockets in the walls.
yeah,
into
it's
the
coming into the
light.
light bulbs. Yeah, the
It's
house
really
is just like
interesting.
filling with blood.
It gives very SpongeBob, like the walls would ooze green slime.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so
Evil Dead is actually just
a
SpongeBob. You
SpongeBob.
guys.
It's just a SpongeBob homage. And so this is when he starts hearing the girl singing, "We're gonna get you, we're gonna get you."
It sounded like, I think it was a whole bunch of, because then you also heard other voices too.
Yeah.
I think it was like a flashback kind of telling you, because you end up hearing the doctor saying like dismembering them is like the only way to go
Oh,
about
yeah,
it
that's
kind
right.
of thing.
He's having all these things pop back up.
Yeah, it was like little
Yeah.
flashbacks happening.
And he's going back upstairs, and we're getting more scenes of him just kind of looking around, waiting for someone to come up to him, attack him. But at this point, like the cabin starts becoming alive in essence.
Yeah, there's this projector. It whirs to life, and it's like, then there's the blood dripping from the ceiling. So you get this really cool shot of blood dripping onto the screen of the projector, and then it's just like pouring down behind him on what it's projecting.
And he's just like being blinded and freaking out by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets the shells or whatever. The projector like whirs or dies. It like explodes.
Catches on fire.
And then he gets back upstairs, right?
Yeah, he gets back out there, and he's
The clock's hands are just going haywire. They're
and
just.
I think at this point he starts looking in the mirror, and then he puts his hand in the mirror and it turns to water.
Yeah, really cool. I
Yeah,
loved that.
really cool effect.
I thought that was really neat.
And then I was also like,
I don't know why.
Yeah, I was like,
But
why?
I was
Why
like,
did that happen?
I liked it.
But it's the way that that happens, and he loses his goddamn mind, and he's just like, screaming.
That was the
like
turn.
of all the things that could happen, that was the part that was like
Everything
whoa, too
coming
much.
to life and bleeding around you wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But mirror to water.
Mirror water, yeah.
Scary.
I would have just like went in. Seems like a way out.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so that's whenever after that he starts hearing noises, and he pulls out Linda's ring, and I think he's just trying to like feel some sort of like, I don't know, connection or comfort. And he ends up getting attacked by Scott and Cheryl.
Yeah.
Right? They pop out.
Yeah, because you see
Cheryl
like a
first, I
shadow
think.
move
Yeah.
past the door. He shoots at that.
Mhm.
And he's got his back against the door as he's pulling the necklace out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And then hands pop through the door, which is Cheryl.
Cheryl. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The hands pop through the door. And that kind of got me
A little jump.
a little bit. I was like, whoa. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like someone else, like I was expecting Scott to get up in front of him,
Okay.
but I
yeah.
wasn't expecting Cheryl to come through
Just pop on in
the
there.
door. Yeah. So
And,
that kind of got me.
And they're going at it, and then Scott gets his round in, and him and Scott are going at it for a while, and then at this point I think somehow where's the book comes into play, because
Yeah. Well, yeah, him and Scotty are fighting. He puts his fingers through his eyes,
Yeah.
which was like,
and
don't fuck with the eyeballs.
And Scotty doesn't really like that at all. He's
No,
like,
he's not a fan.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a twig that was in Scotty's side, and the boy turns into like a Kool-Aid fountain.
Oh yeah, and all
or
that blood
something.
just
He was
pops
just
out.
like,
Yeah.
like you turn the tap
like
on.
an igloo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And then this is where the book is laying there, and he sees it, and he's on the ground. He's trying to use Linda's necklace to like lasso it
That's
in.
right. But because it had kind of caught a little bit on fire at that point, right? And I
Yeah.
think he was realizing like Scotty was like smoking, and so that's why he was like, okay, I need to put this whole book in the fire. And so he's trying to grab it with the necklace ring thing situation, which I was like, how? But okay. And he's able to get it, even though Scott is like pulling him back, and then he's getting like beat down by Cheryl with this like rod that was, I
Yeah,
believe,
a
heated
fire
up by the
poker.
fire. Yeah. I felt like,
fire stoker poker stick.
and so she's just beating him up. Those are heavy too. And so,
And it's sharp.
mm-hmm,
I'm surprised he survived that.
and he is able to grab the book and he chunks it into the fire. And this is whenever, immediately they're like, they just
start
stop
disintegrating.
and they start disintegrating and decomposing into
It's
like all this
claymation.
claymation and mush and like,
And it looked pretty cool. It
looked
was
like
pretty
they
good
put,
for
like,
claymation.
it looked like they put like grits at one point coming out of
Oh
one of their
yeah,
arms.
I was like, I thought it was oatmeal.
Yeah.
But regardless, I was like, don't want to eat that for breakfast
Mhm.
anytime soon.
But yeah, it's the longest death scene because they are just decomposing and they start to even like have hands like bust out of their guts at one point. And
the
then
the book is even going like,
Oh, yeah.
"Blah, blah, blah, blah,"
and the book
in
is
the
dying
fire.
and it's got like its little tongue out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
so funny.
Then all of a sudden, yeah, like you said, after they're going through all that, and it almost seems like they're dead, they stop,
Mm-hmm.
and then those hands go through the
Busting
center.
through, yeah, and then it gets all over Ash. Poor Ash
Yeah,
just keeps
ugh.
getting covered by blood.
It was pretty gross. And then they really melt down. And then you hear join us, join us, join
Fading
us
away.
3 times, and
Mhm.
it kind of fades out. And
Yeah.
then Ash gets up, and it kind of ends with him, or so we think,
Yeah.
walking into the sun and maybe to the safety of the new day.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens?
We get another POV shot and it starts all the way from the back of the house and just like works its way through, and we just come up on Ash and he's screaming in terror, and that's the end of the film.
And that's the end.
So do we know if he got away or not? We don't know. It's kind of a cliffhanger.
Where did he come from? Where did he go?
Something Cotton Eye Joe.
Ash is dead.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not how the song goes.
But there are 3 other movies that follow this, and then of course the requels and whatnot. So the story does not end there. But for this movie, and in 1981 until 87 when Evil Dead 2 came out, this is what it was. So yeah, that is the Evil Dead. Do you have any fun facts, Miss Caitlin?
I do.
You're my fun fact girl.
Yay, fun fact.
Bring it on.
The cabin used as the film set was also lodging for the 13 crew members, with several people sleeping in the same
wow.
room.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Living conditions were terrible. The crew
Mhm.
frequently argued, and the cabin didn't have plumbing, so the actors went days without showering and fell ill frequently in the freezing weather. By the end of production, they were burning furniture to stay warm.
Oh, damn.
It did look like the place got
Trashed like even more and more, right?
Cleared out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was less furniture than what there was whenever they got there.
That's true.
At the end of principal shooting in Tennessee, the crew put together a little time capsule package and buried it inside of the fireplace of the cabin as a memento of the production to whomever found it. The cabin has since been destroyed, and the fireplace is still intact.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I liked the fun fact that Mike gave us earlier about the car being the Buick, being in all 3 films, and then also the newest Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
Which one is that called?
Oh, the Multiverse of Madness, which also
Multiverse of Madness.
Bruce Campbell was also in.
Oh,
He
so that's
had a
really
little
cool.
cameo role
Which was directed also
by
Sam
Sam
Raimi
Raimi.
had a hand in it. Did he fully direct it?
Oh, he fully directed the whatever
Multiverse
Doctor
of
Strange.
Madness.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, because they were trying to do a more horror take on a what's that word? The MCU Marvel movies. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that film, so
It was okay. It was okay. It
And they're
wasn't
3 hours
no fault
long and
to
stuff.
Sam Raimi or
it makes me
anything.
not want to go see it.
I think that it was just like it succumbed to really rushed. Like it didn't they didn't take their time with it. They just really were trying to like, Marvel just like put it out there, make some money. And so yeah. Overall though, the movie, I feel like watching it now, I'm just gonna get into it. It's very outdated, but like all the ideas are there. And I can like appreciate it. I really liked that it was only like an hour and 25 minutes. Cause like, okay.
Yeah.
Especially
really
for older
easy
movies.
to get through.
Because older movies like tend to be like really long and like drawn out.
They do.
Like, and I'm like, why?
Like Jaws.
Yeah, sure. Like, why is this extra 30 minutes that could have been like nixed, But man.
And Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
Very drawn out.
Marvel movies are very long too.
So I no longer see them in theaters.
I'm like between a hard place of like I want to love it, but like for some reason I don't love it, but I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's giving a solid like 3.7 for me.
Okay.
Even though I know it's like inspired so many people, has such a cult following, is like such a classic. I liked the campy part of it. I thought there were just some parts where I was like, I really wish instead of hamming it up, they would have like went darker in tone with it, I guess. But I guess that's what the newer ones do, you know, because they're really dark and like
they are
demented. So this was definitely, I feel like, of the times and like what they could do, their limited budget. It was a bunch of, you know, people just like friends that were like, let's make this horror movie. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The claymation part, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
With their bodies and stuff. There were some parts like with the girls acting and stuff where it just seemed a little over the top. But overall, it had a good pace to it. It really did, because you really like from the beginning as well, you're like already introduced to like danger and like something's wrong and all
stuff.
that. And then we get to the cabin and it doesn't take long for things to start unfolding. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like you know, I will say it, like I like the 2013 requelish make a little bit better, because they add a layer to it that I feel like makes it you connect more to the characters, whereas this, like, I didn't have a single connection to any of those characters whatsoever, you know.
You didn't know much about them.
And
barely knew their names.
And like there was no stakes, you know, there was no emotional connection between like who and who. Like the only thing you could kind of get was maybe like, you know, those moments where Ash was like, I can't kill Linda because I love her, but like there was a bit more of like character fleshing out of characters in, I feel like, the remakes and stuff. But also because he, you know, created a different storyline with that one, so there's a little bit more that they could do with it, like the reason why they were at the cabin in the 2013 one, whereas opposed to this one is just like, we're just here to like vacation essentially. But yeah, I'd give it a 3.7.
3.7.
3.7, yeah.
Good. I was thinking about a 3.5 for me. So that I basically stand exactly where you did. Overall, it was a good film. Yeah. It just, and probably a pretty decent film for the 80s. And again, incredibly low budget. Just, you know, it's a directorial debut. We've seen some really good ones, but this one, you know, it wasn't bad. Like you said, all the ideas were there. And I can't read it.
A number 1 and oh, okay. Number 1, Mike's boo rating is 3 for number 1.
Oh.
And then his boo rating for the second one, which we will hopefully cover very soon, is like a 12 out of 5 boo rating. So
12.5.
Yeah, a 12 out of 5.
12 out of 5.
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, overall, it was good. It was a good film. I think it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna say that you like horror movies, I think you should watch it.
Yeah,
I think
I don't feel less of a person for having watched it. Was it comical in some points? Yes, but that's also kind of the point of it.
And that's also like a lot of horror movies. Like you have to have some. That's why a lot of horror movies have like a joke.
Levity.
Yeah,
to
interwoven
make light
at some
of
point.
the situation, so that way you're not like, holy shit, this is just really fucking dark. Because then there's like, you get that with like Ari Aster's films where it just is like, dear God.
I need to go watch that. Beau is Afraid still.
I know, me too.
It's a cartoon. What's a cartoon?
What's a cartoon?
The whole movie's a cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Because you think about a cartoon, if somebody explodes, they're right back in the next scene.
That's true.
Same deal with Ash. Anytime you see him from scene to scene, like his scratches disappear, all kinds of stuff.
There was a lot of continuity issues throughout the film. Even with like Cheryl's drawing at the beginning when she was drawing Doodle Bob. Yeah. Different from different angles and stuff. It was all wrong.
And then, like you said, even Linda's like injury on her ankle or
leg,
heel, whatever,
and stuff like that. There were a lot of times where it was kind of like a reset.
If you think of it as a cartoon, none of it matters.
That's true.
None of the continuity matters.
That's true. It's like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
He just
he gets hit by an Acme thingamabob. And,
Yep. And then he's fine the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did
yeah.
that record you? Good.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope that's in there. So that way it doesn't seem just
Like we're just talking to thin air. And so, yeah. So we've got ourselves a 3, a 3.5, and a 3.7. I think that leaves it right at a 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good number for me.
Right in the middle for our Evil Dead. The Evil Dead.
The Evil
Yeah,
Dead,
which is a part of our decades rundown
of
we're
horror.
doing. So that was our 80s
Dun, dun, dun,
pick.
dun.
We are going to have something for the 90s next week, so make sure you stick around for that.
Send
Keep
us your suggestions if you have any films from the 90s that you'd like us to cover. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then we've got some picks for the teens and
all of those
early
things.
2000s and the teens and stuff. So,
but yeah, like always though, we are in the Rogue Media Network studio.
That's right. They take great care of us.
And you can listen to our podcast and a lot of other podcasts on their website, which is Rogue Media Nation. No, wait. Ooh, I don't know where I brought that nation from. Rogue Media Network. RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And then you can also listen to us and all the other lovely podcasts on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe,
because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you'd like to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on The Evil Dead, why you think we should have given it a higher rating, or if you think we were too generous, gave it too high of a rating,
right?
Let us know, and then let us know your thoughts for 90s movies. And you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right.
Yes.
Sorry, I was taking a sip of water.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, until next time, you guys, stick around for the 90s, and we'll see you later.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.